Welcome back to the next video in my home buying series. For those of you who are new here, my name is Veronica Lambie. I am a licensed real estate broker with eXp. I'm currently licensed in the state of Oregon and working on the process of getting licensed in California and Texas. And my real estate team goes from the West Coast to the East Coast, all the way from Oregon to Florida. So if you watched the original video, you will know that we've already gone through a pretty in-depth overview of the first steps that you want to take in the home buying process. And during that, I talked quite a bit about the idea of how inaccurate things like Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, that sort of thing can be, and why it's really important to make sure that you are using a good realtor to do your home search. I also talked relatively quickly about the fact that I have a couple of apps available for you, one that covers Southern Oregon and one that covers essentially the rest. And I promised you a walkthrough of those. So that's what this video is going to cover today. I will put links to both of the apps down below in case you don't have them yet or you're not actually connected to me within them. If you have any questions about that process, just reach out to me. I will also be including my contact information, of course, and I will also be putting timestamps in the description box so that way, if you want to get the information on one app or the other, you have the ability to jump straight into that app's tutorial. All right, let's get started. If you don't already have the HomeSpotter app, I will, of course, leave the link in the description box for you. So you're just going to click that link, which will pop up an invitation like this. This invite is going to take you straight to the App Store or Play Store so that you are able to download this directly from a trusted location. When you open the app for the first time, you're going to see this chat bot, which is going to ask you a few questions to finish getting you and your app set up and ready to go. Once that's done, it will open the app for you. You'll have to allow a few permissions like location services so that the app can actually work the way it's supposed to. And once you're done with that, it's time to start searching. So this is the map view, and it is what you will generally see when you first open up the app. This is sort of your home page, if you will. This button right here in the top left corner will bring you to the app menu, which has all of your shortcuts. If you click on my photo here on the top, you'll find all of my contact information, including a way to send me a quick text message. If we go back in here, you will see that the next link is a search nearby button. This is actually a shortcut to search nearby properties, as you might guess. This heart right here that says My Account allows you to view your saved properties, your saved searches, as well as your deleted homes. HomeSpotter calls these hidden, so that's where you would find them if you accidentally deleted one, for instance. Going back into the app menu again, we have a basic mortgage calculator, which I will talk more about how to use correctly later. And last but not least, we have this link, which allows you to invite somebody to use HomeSpotter either by emailing them a link, copying the link so that you can post it online, or send it in a text message or anything like that. If we head out of the app menu and back to the main map view again, we have this main search bar up here, and then this filter button off to the right, which is going to open its own menu. Before we deep dive into that, I do want to point out a few other features in this map. First off, right here in sort of the top right, we have this link to reset the map, which will remove all of the filters with the exception of the default, which is property status. This app is going to default to always looking for active listings for obvious reasons. But anyway, that will reset your map if you want to start over from scratch. And then this is the number of results that you've got showing in the current page. And so if you zoom in or zoom out, or you change where you're searching or your criteria, this number is going to change as well. Then down here we have a couple of buttons. This world icon, if you press it, is going to change the view to a satellite view, which can be very useful in certain instances. Just change it back so it's easier to see. This pencil icon is going to allow you to draw a custom shape in whatever size or shape you please. And then once you set up your search, we'll actually search only within that custom shape, which can obviously be very helpful if you're wanting to only look within a very specific area, say one side of a particular street or on one side of a park or that kind of thing. Let's go ahead and remove that. And then this button is going to take the map and just bring it right to your current location wherever you're at. So if you're back up here in the app menu, this search nearby button and this button down here do the exact same thing. Tapping either one of these will bring the map down to wherever you are right now at this exact moment in time, and will show you all of the listings near you. So that's all great, but what if you want to look up a specific property, maybe by address or MLS number, that sort of thing? Or what if you want to do a very specific type of search? Then you're going to go over to this search bar here and the filter section here in the top right hand corner of the page. Let's start with the filter section. This is where you can add in criteria like status, type, price, amenities like bedrooms and bathrooms, and so on. There are a limited number of search fields here, and this obviously isn't going to be anywhere near as detailed as the kind of search that I will be creating for you with my website, your customized search and client portal, that kind of thing. But it's a great place to start if you have a specific property that you're curious about, for instance, or you just want to have a little fun playing around with the app, or if you're out driving around and see a for sale sign and are curious. Two things that I want to point out before we get much further. One, do you notice how all of these little icons are green? This app defaults to showing active properties, but it does actually have the ability to pull in every status from the MLS. It just generally has them filtered from normal view so as not to add any confusion to the mix. This is important to recognize, however, if you are searching for a specific address and it pops up a listing that has an icon that is a different color. I won't make you listen while I break down all the colors and what they mean, but the important thing to know is that in this app, green is the color for all new, active, or recently reduced properties that are currently actively for sale. Any other color is listings that are off market, whether that's because they're pending, expired, sold, or what have you. All of these listings of every type are held within the app for an entire year. So even if you're searching for a property that sold maybe 9 months ago, you can still find it here, which is great. But just remember when you're looking, active listings are green. If it's not green, we're not going to be able to go and see it. The second thing that I want to point out is that this search bar along the top where it says city, zip, address, school, MLS number, and so on, those are all of the different types of things that you can type in here to start looking for properties. And the app starts searching as you type. So for instance, if I type 1, 2, 3, 4, you see that it's going to pull up everything with an address or an MLS number that matches that. So in this case, there's 2 addresses, both in Medford, that have an address of 1, 2, 3, 4, which is sort of interesting. But the point is that you don't have to have the whole address, the whole area, the whole anything. So the same thing would be true if you were to type in, for instance, a school district. Let's see if the school district around here will pop up. Okay, so it doesn't look like that one is showing up, but let's try another one. Let's try one specifically. So look, so now you've got the Lincoln School District that pops up right here, and you've got a whole host of them. So depending on which one you're looking for, obviously you're going to want to look for the one in your town, that kind of thing. But again, the point is here that you don't have to have complete information. It's going to start to bring up information that matches what it thinks you want, and then you can just choose yours out of the list, and you can just do that by tapping on it. So we're going to use 97501 for this example, and then from here, it's going to kind of zoom in on just that specific piece of criteria. So in this case, we've got kind of a black border showing us the outline of 97501 specifically, and then we're going to be able to go in here and filter that further by price, bedrooms and bathrooms, that kind of thing. So let's zoom in a bit and take a closer look at some specific listings. I want to point out a few things while I'm doing this. Let me just get zoomed in so you can see what I'm about to be talking about. So there are, once you get close enough, there are some icons showing on top of the listings themselves. First off, once you get close enough, as you can see, you get sort of a rounded up price. So if you have a property, for instance, it's $379,999, it's going to show is $380K, that kind of thing. Also, you have these little icons. This little green down arrow is indicating that this property has had a recent price adjustment. Let me just find another one here. A little green circle, if I can find one. Oh, here we go. This is a new property to the market. This one that has the red numbers is actually listed twice for one reason or another. This is often done when you have a property that is a multifamily. So it will be listed both as residential and as an investment property. So this might be a duplex, for instance. And then this icon is actually because I went ahead and favorited this property already. And so the little heart is one of your favorite properties. Again, up here, you're going to see the number of properties that you have actually kind of within this screen. So in this case, we've gone from the 70 something that we had before down to 35, which are just a couple that are showing in our screen. And then this button is what we would use if we wanted to reset the map. And of course, zoomed in like this, we could also filter it further. So let me just choose a property and we will actually go into it so we can talk about some specifics. Let's pick this one just because it'll probably have some good photos. Oh, no, maybe not. Okay, so as you can see, when we click on a specific property, the one that we've clicked actually turns white. And this is just to make it easy to differentiate it from the others in the page, especially in a situation like this where you might have a number showing at once. So we are going to click on the pop-up here and go into the app to view the full details. And let's just talk for a minute about all of the information you have access to inside the app. First and foremost, you have your photos here at the top of the page. These you can actually scroll on, as you can see, or you can click on them and give it just a minute for them to load. And it will open up a gallery view, as you can see here. And if you actually click on something specific, you can view it sort of zoomed in even further. Let me just go back out of here. Then you have your price showing. In this case, we've obviously gone to a property that had a recent price reduction. You have your address showing, and then you have some sort of high-level details. So bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, that kind of thing. And this is scrollable as well. And then as you come down the page a little bit, you have these three sort of tabs, and these are going to be important as we go on. Below that, you have my contact information, just to make it easy for you to contact me if you need to. And then you have the property description and the property history. So in this case, we're seeing when it went for sale, when it had its price change, that kind of thing. And then you have that mortgage calculator down here again. So let's just take a quick minute and let's jump into the mortgage calculator, because I want to explain how to use this properly so that you don't get yourself confused about what your payments are. So let's take a quick minute to jump into the mortgage calculator so I can walk you through how it works and some potential hiccups. If you are going into this through the listing like we are currently, it's going to automatically pull the list price in here. You can change this number if you're planning on offering lower or higher, that kind of thing, but it will pull the list price in as a default. It will also have a few default numbers for your down payment amounts and interest rate and loan term. All of these are editable. So for instance, we could drop this down and we could say, oh no, we're going to only pay 10% down payment. And we're going to say, yep, the interest rate's going to be 5%. It's going to be a 30-year loan term. We're going to click on more options. As you can see, it's pulling in property taxes. These are the actual property taxes listed in the MLS listing itself. And then it's going to pull in an estimate of what it thinks the homeowner's insurance would be. This is, again, not at all a quote. It's just an estimate. So it's important to talk to your insurance agent and find out what that's actually going to cost you. You're also going to want to include HOA dues if this is in an HOA. But the most important piece that's down here is this PMI button. This toggle needs to be turned on if you have a loan type that is going to require mortgage insurance. As you can see, you've now added in, it says it down here, $141, and you have this additional piece up here because see, it's going to break down. This is the total payment for this house based on this amount in principal and interest, this amount of homeowner's insurance, this amount of mortgage insurance, and this amount of property taxes. As you can see, your payment amount every month can change significantly if you forget to make sure that this is included. And for whatever reason, it is very easy for people to kind of bump these toggles as they're going in and out of these on multiple listings. So it's important to periodically go through and double check that all of your numbers are still what you're expecting them to be, that this toggle is turned on, and so on and so forth, so that you're getting as accurate of an estimate as possible. Of course, your lender is still the best resource for a more complete estimate of your monthly payment, but this at least gives you a place to kind of get started. Okay, so heading out of the mortgage calculator, we have hit the end of the highlights section. So let's jump over to the details section, which is exactly what it sounds like. This is going to have the details of the entire property, right? The year it was built, how many bedrooms and bathrooms there are. Essentially, within this page, you will find every bit of detail that is included within the MLS. And there's quite a list, as you can see. So you can go through all of that. This will sometimes be minimized, and there will be a button that says view full details. Just click that and it will bring all of this down. And then if we go one step over again into neighborhood, you are greeted with a photo that is an aerial view of the property itself. You have links here to get directions. You can also go to the street view if it's applicable. And then this button here will give you the ability to search for things nearby, like coffee shops, schools, that kind of thing. There's this thing called a walk score, which is created by the app. It's not my favorite thing in the world. It basically talks about the idea of how close things are and whether or not they're within walking distance, but I have a real problem with the idea of that being something that we're using as a measurement because I don't think it is very inclusive, but I didn't create the app. So that's in there. There's also school information. So you've got South Medford High School, McLaughlin Middle School, and Jefferson Elementary School for the schools that are applicable to this specific property. And then along the bottom, in case you haven't noticed, the three icons that were on the bottom before we went into the listing are very different now that we're in the listing. So down here, you're going to find a share button, which is exactly what you would expect. This is going to bring up a share menu and allow you to share the link to this listing directly, whether that's via Bluetooth, email, Messenger, any of those kinds of things. However you want to share it, it'll give you a link that you can share it with. It's also going to let you share it in a message. So, for instance, this is a good way to send me a property if you are wanting to book a showing or you have some questions, that kind of thing. So this is what that looks like. So you're going to click on this button that says send a message, click on my name because Obviously, you want to send it to me. And now, as you can see, you have this draft email or this draft message with the property automatically attached. So you might say, for instance, please schedule a showing. And then this is going to go over to me, and I am going to see that, and I'm going to be able to go into that and request a showing, respond to you, all that kind of thing. And in fact, you'll be able to see, if we go out of this, let me just see if I can get the keyboard to go away. You can see, because this is my test contact, that we were messaging back and forth previously, right? So, you know, I said to myself, can you get me a showing, please? Sure thing. By the way, did you see this other property? And as you can see, it's very easy to kind of chat back and forth about this. And you can even do this in a group chat. So let's say there's 2 or 3 of you property hunting together. You know, either you're property hunting with your significant other or a friend or somebody in your family or whoever. We can include everybody on this so everybody gets all of the messages about everything. So this is a pretty neat sort of system. If we go back out of this, let me just make my screen actually focus. The joys of trying to screen record on a phone using a computer. There we go. If we go back out of here, you see this little heart? This allows you to actually favorite a property. And you saw earlier what happens when that happens, but let me just show you again. So I've now favorited the property. And if I go back out of here, you see now it's got a little heart. And interestingly, if you come up here and you go to my account and you go to saved properties, it's going to show you specifically your saved properties. So here's the one I saved previously when I was doing my first video that didn't make the cut. And here's the one we saved just now. If for some reason you were wanting to delete this property and you didn't want it to show up any longer, you would simply do that by clicking this little trash can icon up at the top. And again, if you remember, we talked about that as well. If we go into my account, come on screen, focus. There we go. If we go into my account, you can actually go into hidden homes and it will show you the ones that you've hidden as well. So last but not least, I want to talk about these 3 icons down at the bottom. So list view is exactly what it sounds like. It's going to change this from a map view to a list view. So, you know, we've got one property showing here because we're currently looking at just our hidden homes, but the same thing would be showing if there were 35 or 75 or whatever. It's just a different view and can be easier sometimes for people to navigate. It also gives you a way to sort properties. So let's say you want to sort everything within an area by price or square footage. You can do that. You just go back to the map view. And then if you want to use this button, this is going to allow you to send messages through the app. Obviously, you can send messages to me. We're just going to tell it no right now. You can send messages to me. This is a place that you can very easily get into the messages that we've sent back and forth. Or if you wanted to send a property to somebody else, you could totally do that from here. Just back out of this again. And the sort of saving the best for last, if you will, is Spot. Spot is the augmented reality portion of the app because this isn't comprehensive enough already, right? So this is actually super neat. Spot is going to, if you tap on it, it's going to access your device's camera so that if you're out and about and you see a for sale sign, you can come over here, you can tap on Spot, and then you can hold your phone up and you can look around using your phone, very similar to what you would do if you were scanning a QR code. And it will actually use your location and the data that it finds in the camera in terms of the sort of photos of the homes near you to figure out exactly where you're at and then pull in listings that are nearby. And not only will it pull in listings that are nearby, it will give you directions and distance and everything. So for instance, it will pop up if you turn your screen to the right and there's a property 654 yards off to the right, it's going to superimpose that over the live view of what you're looking at and say, hey, there's a property for sale right here in front of you, 650 yards this direction. And if you turn yourself around with your camera and there's a property off to the left, a quarter mile, it's going to tell you, hey, there's a property off to the left, a quarter mile. So this can be a really, really neat tool if you are out driving around and see a for sale sign, or if you're just curious about a property and maybe you don't know the address. Maybe you're in a rural area and you have no idea what the address might be, for instance, that kind of thing. So it's a super, super neat feature that's available. It's pretty new, but it works really, really well. Okay, so that is essentially the end of the tutorial for HomeSpotter. If you have any questions, of course, feel free to reach out to me directly, and let's jump into HomeSnap. So, very much like what we talked about with HomeSpotter, if you do not currently have HomeSnap, or you have HomeSnap but aren't currently attached to me, please use the link down below to go ahead and get connected with me. This will give you an invitation page, which you're seeing here, that will allow you to send me a message directly or download the app. And of course, that download link is going to take you straight into the Play Store if you're an Android user, or into the App Store if you are on iOS. And of course, just like HomeSpotter, these apps work on both phones and tablets, so that's no issue. Anyway, it's going to take you into the appropriate store so that you feel like you have a safe place to download this from. And once it's downloaded and installed, we're just going to go ahead and open it. This is what it's going to look like when you see it for the first time. It's going to give you sort of the typical swipe through options to give you a quick tutorial. And then when you're done, you're going to click this black Get Started button. Now, this is where I'm going to go ahead and pause the video for a minute because I am borrowing an email address so that HomeSnap doesn't recognize that it's me, because then we would see all the wrong versions of this app, of course, because it would give me the realtor side as opposed to the buyer side. So you're going to create an account here, enter your first and last name, that kind of thing, typical account creation, which of course we're skipping. And then once that's all done, it's going to ask you to confirm your email and your cell phone number for the app. So just go find the email, click the link, and you should be all good. Once you are all confirmed and set up, you can open your app again, and this is what you will see. Okay, this is HomeSnap, and I am going to apologize in advance. For whatever reason, it does not play as well with the screencasting program that I'm using to record the phone screen. So it tends to get more fuzzy in this app for whatever reason. I think it's because it's pulling in so much more information. So you're just going to have to bear with me as we walk through this, and we will do our best. So as you can see, while we are looking around, what is the homepage? And this is, by the way, what you're going to see when you sign in. You may not be zoomed into Portland. You may be zoomed into Grants Pass or Sunny Valley or areas like Eugene, that kind of thing. But you're going to see by default wherever you last searched, and it's going to default to showing for sale properties, although you can look up for rent properties as well. And much like HomeSpotter could, you can sort and filter properties. And we're going to come back to all of this here in a minute. You get the same sort of map view that you had in HomeSpotter, although it's a little bit smaller. And then these are some properties that it thinks you might find to be a good match for some reason, and you can scroll through these, as you can see. I'm not going to go very far because it will make the app go fuzzy. Down here at the bottom, you have some options, and we're going to actually start there. So the first one of these tabs that you can get to just by tapping on it is your News tab. This is a place that you can send a link to your friends, just like with HomeSpotter. You can invite them to download the app, and then you can chat back and forth and that kind of thing. There's a place to change up your profile if you'd like to add a photo, things like that. And then you can update your zip codes so that they match more of your search so that it kind of knows what to pull in for you automatically. And then going down here to messages, you're going to have, and again, I'm testing here, so you're going to see some kind of weird messages because I'm sending back and forth for the purposes of this video. But this is a messages area, so this is where you could message me. There's also a HomeSnap bot, very similar to the one you found in HomeSpotter. And this one can actually, if you type help to it, for instance, it can actually give you some help. So it's kind of interesting in that way. And then this little pencil icon is where you would go if you wanted to create a new message for some reason. Now I'm going to jump away from this homes section and I'm going to go over to me. And in me, you're going to see essentially your profile. So there's another link if you want to invite somebody. Here is where you would see sort of your friends list. You're in more. You have a whole series of options that we will kind of get into a little bit more as we go through this. Most of the options in this section are pretty self-explanatory, but just to go through them quickly, obviously you can send your profile and a message. This is where you would view your snaps, which is related to this camera icon hiding up here in the right-hand corner. We'll talk more about that soon. This is also where you would view your favorited properties, your saved searches, change your profile image, and even change your wallpaper, which is this border kind of behind the profile image here. If we click back out of it, there's this gear icon up here in the top right. This is your settings menu. I'm not going to go into it because I had to borrow an email address in order to be able to set up a dummy account that it would not recognize as me, which is Realtor. Therefore, I have a different kind of account with HomeSnap, obviously. Anyway, so I had to borrow an email, and because of that, I don't want to blast it, obviously, all over the internet. And so I'm not going to go into there, but if you needed to change things like your email, that's how you would do it. You also have recently viewed and recently favorited properties contained here. So if you get distracted kind of looking at a bunch of properties and you maybe forgot to click favorite on one that you really liked, you can easily kind of go back through your most recent view right here. Okay, so now let's get into the nitty-gritty of what we can do with all of this, shall we? So we're going to click over here into homes. And of course, just like before, it's showing us a preview of some homes. These are just homes somewhere within this box that it thinks might be a good fit. We are going to actually click onto the map in this particular instance. Now, again, you can come up here, you can search by area, you can filter the property. Here's all of your options to filter. So you can do price, property type, listing type, bedrooms and bathrooms, all of that. You can search for rent properties and for sale properties, and you can of course sort them by things like price, that sort of thing. But for the purposes of a walkthrough, we're just going to click into this map and it's going to expand, and suddenly you're going to have a few extra buttons. First and foremost, this save search button. If you want to save a search, simply click this button. Pretty self-explanatory, right? One of the nice things about HomeSnap is that it is super, super intuitive. So it's really easy for people to use most of the time. Now let's talk about these buttons here before I get into the actual search. So this one is exactly what you would expect. It's going to bring that list back up. So this is the list view of all of the properties up here. If you click this location button, it's going to take you to the map, which is going to be the map view. of all of those properties there. And if we were to zoom in further, you would see actual specific properties. Because we are currently pulling a huge radius, these are clusters of listings. So there's 362 listings here. There's 243 listings here. And we'll zoom in a minute. If we go here, we can switch it to a satellite view, which might be helpful, not so much in Portland, but in, say, more rural areas, that kind of thing. This is a great way to get a feel for neighborhood. If you kind of want to get an eagle eye view of what the neighborhood looks like near a property. And then you can also add another layer, and this little icon here that looks like a graduation cap, these are schools. So if you click on them, it'll show you exactly which school is there. Oops, and I've zoomed in. Okay, so we've zoomed in a bit, and as you can see, obviously, once you start zooming in, you start getting a lot more detail. Again, we're not going to go into that just yet. This allows you to draw a shape and then search within that drawing. You can go ahead and save that search or cancel the drawing right here. And then this icon right here is actually really a neat feature that HomeSnap has. This one, if you click on it, lets you add an address. It's powered by a simple Google search, so really easy to use. You can add an address here, and you can actually give the app a specific commute time or distance that you want to stay within based on that address, and it will help calculate whether or not all of your matches are going to meet that. So let's say you want to be within 20 minutes of work or 45 minutes of a hospital, that kind of thing. This is how you would do that and do that really effectively. So let's go back out to our search field and let's actually talk about some property specific things. First and foremost, I want to point out that much like HomeSpotter, green means active. However, in HomeSnap, purple means there's an open house coming up, okay? So this is not necessarily an inactive property. This is a property that has an open house scheduled soon. Also, not that it's going to matter to a good majority of the people watching, but I do work with people out of Portland quite often. And so it's important to note that this particular icon versus this icon is essentially delineating a condo versus a house. So the circles are houses, and these icons that look a lot like an apartment complex are exactly that. Okay, so let's go into a listing specifically. And then, by the way, this gets outlined in white when you click it so that you're able to see which property you're clicking on. Let's go into a listing and let's talk about kind of what we're going to find in there. So when you click on the property, like I said, it gets outlined in white, and then you're going to see this little preview pop up down here. You can scroll through the photos, see what you kind of think of it, and then decide if you're going to go into it or not. So let's go into that listing. So the first thing that you're going to see here is whatever photo you were on most recently. And there's a lot of information contained in this page, although it's not super obvious. First off, if you click on the picture, it's going to take you to a gallery view where you can click on individual pictures from there and zoom in on them further. Obviously, just like with any app, you can go ahead and turn your phone or your tablet, and that will make this photo larger. But you can kind of click through, scroll through all of the pictures of the listing itself. Also, down here at the bottom, you have links for the photos, the street view, and the map. And you can change this view from a gallery view to a list view, which is going to give you a little bit larger photos to begin with. Let's go to the street view. And this is exactly what you would expect. This is the Google Street view of the property. You can turn and look around if you want to. And then here's your map complete with property lines. So that makes it really easy. And then here's where you would get directions. And if you want to see the map view versus the satellite view, you can do that up here at the top. Let's go ahead and go back out of this, and we are back to kind of that main page. You have the same links to the photos, the street view, and the map here at the top. And it continues to kind of give you the ability to find that information throughout the process. Down here, We have a bit of information about the sales price, whether it's for sale, pending, sold, that kind of thing. We have the address. We have the bedrooms, bathrooms, the lot size, and the square footage. Just see if I can make this stop switching photos, because I know it's just making it blurry in the screen share. And then right here in this little link, you have a way to pop up a mortgage calculator. Now, it is important to be aware that this mortgage calculator is not anywhere near as accurate as the one in HomeSpotter. There's no ability to add mortgage insurance or anything like that into this one. You just have a few sort of super basic things that you can enter. So it's not the most accurate, but it can definitely help you get an idea of what's going on. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into the listing itself. If you saw, there's this little, hold on, come on, focus. There's this little gray box down here that you can swipe up, and that's going to bring you into the listing information itself. So the first thing that you're going to come across is the property history. Over here on the left-hand side, and this was a perfect one to use, over here on the left-hand side, you can see that there is a price that is very different than on the right-hand side. This is because this is what the price was when the house was listed originally. And then it's been on the market this most recent time, 108 days, and it is currently listed for $429,900. And if you go down here, you can actually see the entire history of the property, everything from when it was first built all the way up. And you can actually tell it to notify you of price changes. And then if we keep going, we've got the listing summary. So this is your marketing remarks, the property type, the style, the year built, the estimated taxes, and the MLS number, and then of course the number of stories. Again, we are met with this reminder that we can look at the photos, the street view, or the map view. And then you get into more details about the listing. Make sure that you click this button right here that says more details. We'll come back to that in just a minute. But as we continue to go through, you're going to be able to see the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school for the area, as well as their reviews. So this is kind of an interesting feature that may matter quite a lot to some of you, or not so much to some of you. Again, we have this ability to calculate commute time. This is that same feature as we found before. It's just in a different place. You again have your map showing your property lines, and then down here at the bottom, you have a way to send me a direct message complete with the property, just to make it super easy. And then at just below that, at the very, very bottom, it's going to give you a list of what it would consider to be similar listings. Let's go back up before we go any further, and let's expand that listing details area. So if you click on this more details button, this is going to bring up all of the listing information. So as you can see, you have quite a lot available in there. Everything from, frankly, the flooring that's used in the house, to the appliances included, to the size of the lot, and so on and so forth. Give the app just a minute to focus. There we go. And this is not HomeSnap that's not focusing, by the way. This is the feed that is running between the computer and the phone not focusing. So you won't have any focus problems with HomeSnap. Now, if you want to send this property in a message, you can do that very simply by coming down here, clicking this pencil icon. You're going to want to make sure you actually click my name. It's a little bit confusing. This is where you would add other recipients. If for some reason you wanted to be messaging this to more than one person, but you would just click on my name. And then very similarly to what we've seen before, you have a little pop-up and then a place to put a message. So please schedule a showing. Oh, didn't spell that correctly. And then that would go directly to me. And as before, I went ahead and already prepped with one of those so you could see kind of how that looks. So this is a different property that I looked at previously that I had sent to myself via the app. And so as you can see, you have a way to chat back and forth and send attachments. So that can be really neat. going back into the listing, let me just go back up to here so it's obvious where I'm at. You have the option, come on, focus. You have the option to favorite the property. You just click this star down here. That's going to go ahead and add it to your favorites list. And then if you want to share this property outside of the app, you simply click on this share button and share it using your favorite program. One other feature that I promised that I would talk about that's super neat is this snaps option. So snaps is going to, much like the HomeSpotter feature, it's going to activate your camera. The difference is that it's going to take a photo, and based on the photo, it's going to compare it to listings in your area. And all you have to do is take a picture of the front of the house and it's going to find the listing for you. So makes it super, super easy if you're out driving around and you just see a for sale sign and maybe you don't even know which street you're on or that kind of thing. Certainly don't know the address. Maybe there's not a house number on the house or you're in a rural area, that kind of thing. You just snap a picture of the front of it and the app will kind of do the rest. Thank you so much for joining me for another one of these class videos. As always, I will leave all of the links and my contact information in the description box. Don't hesitate to reach out to me with any questions you might have. See you in the next class.